What is up, everyone? Welcome to Eagles on Air. I'm your host, Will Quinney, and we're here with my co-host, Owen Francis. All right, today we're going to be talking about just March Madness, how it's gone so far, and then our predictions for the Final Four in the championship.
Yeah, so looking back through the entire tournament, we've seen some pretty interesting games and such. There weren't really too many crazy upsets seen around the first rounds. We did see, obviously the first game, which was a very evenly divided game. Ohio State and TCU, I think, was the first scheduled game.
Yes, it was. That was crazy game.
That came down to the wire, I thought. And that was, usually those first games take about half the brackets away in the first day.
Yeah. And then we can talk about Duke Siena. Duke almost had a scare right there.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty close at one point.
I was going to say, I didn't even care about my bracket at that point. I just kind of wanted to see the upset.
Duke only won by, 6, right?
I think so. Let me see. Duke won by 6, which was, kind of foreshadowing later events for Duke. But,
yeah.
All one seeds got by. Really, what were some of the upsets? Just, obviously, your beloved BYU losing to Texas.
Yeah, that was unprecedented. Yeah. But it happens. That's why it's called March Madness.
Yeah, DeMonte just couldn't do enough, I guess.
He was already carrying the team enough. He had, I think it was 38 points, 35, something like that.
AJ DeBonza had 35 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist. So, that's
should have passed it better.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. What else were some interesting games coming from this first?
Oh, that Wisconsin High Point game.
Oh, yeah. All my brackets got messed up because of Wisconsin High Point.
That might have been more of a thriller than that Ohio State TCU game, just because it was a 5-12.
Yeah, I thought I was a lot more high on Wisconsin, I guess, but obviously it did not really.
And then we also got to talk about that North Carolina VCU game. Overtime.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I was high on VCU last year when they lost to... Yeah, they lost to BYU in the first round. But this year, they were able to get it done in getting past North Carolina. But I thought North Carolina VCU was a very evenly kind of picked game. I just know that I thought, what was it, North Carolina was missing Caleb.
Can't think of his name right now, but yeah.
I was going to say, he's a very high.
He's projected 4th or 5th overall right now?
He's top 5. I'm trying to see if I can find the game.
Let's see.
North Carolina versus VCU, OT winner. Oh, yeah, so there was Ohio State TCU that first game, Nebraska Troy. Nebraska got past pretty easily. Oh, that Louisville South Florida game was pretty close. Louisville won by 4. I know people were thinking of the upset on that one, but it did not end up coming down to that.
We also got St. Mary's lost to Texas A&M. Very interesting game, just matchup-wise, because you got a team that presses all the time. I can't remember which one. But one of them, presses a lot. The other one is very slow. They like to slow the game down, run their offense, their defense makes the other team's offense work. So it's very low scoring in 63-50.
For most teams, but St. Mary's, they had a pretty good team. The same division as Gonzaga. They had a somewhat, decent, come in, but it's not really all that surprising.
The WCC's not that strong, though.
I guess only Gonzaga's really the only strong.
It's Gonzaga and St. Mary's.
We talked about Wisconsin High Point, and then we had Arkansas easily got by Hawaii. Michigan State got past North Dakota State. Very,
Oh, don't forget about that St. Louis and Georgia game.
Oh, very high scoring affair from the Pelicans.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second. We had Vanderbilt winning over McNeese. Here's the VCU and North Carolina game. I was going to say, this game was quite, just anything can happen in March, I guess.
Yeah.
Really the only other games that were kind of notable that night was SLU versus Georgia. SLU won by 30, and they were, playing. Were they? Was it not?
They were in I think Buffalo.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were somewhere in New York.
But they were playing. They were playing quite good. Obviously, they had to play Michigan in the next round.
Yeah, Hey, they played pretty good though in that first half.
I was gonna say they had a little bit of life in them, but honestly, no shame in losing to the number 1 seed who's now playing in the Final Four. Going on to the next day of the first round, we had
Next 2 days.
Oh yeah, well the next 2 days. Starting off the day with an amazing game, which was Kentucky versus Santa Clara. You saw the buzzer beater, right?
Kentucky.
They're playing in St. Louis.
I don't think I actually watched that game.
I was gonna say, so I mean, it went to OT, but Santa Clara was playing quite the game. They came down with 2 seconds, made a 3, up 73-70, and then Kentucky with 2 seconds on the clock, bring it from their side of the court, heave one from half, and they make a 32-foot three-pointer to tie the game, 73-73, which Kentucky went to shut down Santa Clara in the entirety of OT. It was so sad to see Santa Clara's. I'm trying to think of the name of the player, but all he would do was, I think it was Ejan Mahi, I think. He's a little, I think it was a guard. He just kept coming up, and for 3 plays in consecutive, he went up for a 3. No like moves, anything. He just dribbled up and just a standing 3 just got swatted each and every single time.
I mean, that's his own fault.
I was gonna say, I mean, it was definitely not the smart play, but we saw Texas Tech over Akron, Arizona and Virginia taking their wins.
Okay, wait. Why did everybody say Texas Tech is going to lose to Akron?
Yes, I did say that, but obviously we all make mistakes.
I wasn't talking about you. I'm just talking about in general. I've heard so much talk about them being upset by Akron, but who's Akron played?
Do I know? No, but I had to have
Miami of Ohio. I think is the only team that I can think of.
No, they did make the tournament. They lost to
They lost to Tennessee in the first round by like 22.
And Tennessee was a very surprising team coming in the tournament. I did not expect Tennessee to go far at all. And I mean, for them being a 6th seed and make it all the way to the Elite 8 was pretty impressive to see, honestly. But what else do we have? Utah State over Villanova, quite easy win. Iowa State and Alabama getting their wins. Purdue winning quite easily. The UCLA and UCF game was quite close, actually. 75-71 UCLA. I don't remember any crazy. They were tied 3 within 10 seconds left, but I don't remember. It looks like a close game, but I don't really remember any stories from that game.
Neither do I. All I know is I woke up the next morning, saw that, and I got mad.
Let's see what else we have. We have St. John's winning over. Who did they play in the first round? Was it Iowa? University of Northern Iowa? If I believe the name is correct. Yeah, the St. John's, they played, Northern Iowa. Never heard of them before, but they won by 20. So, also Iowa over Clemson, and then now Iowa also becoming kind of like a Tennessee-esque team, making it quite far in the tournament.
Yeah.
Which is completely surprising because we'll talk about it in a few minutes when we get to that part. But the crazy game they had in the what was that?
Round of 32.
Round of 32.
And even the Sweet 16.
I was gonna say, and the Sweet 16. Very close, but obviously we'll get to that Elite 8 game. Well, we'll get to the 32 game first. Florida winning by 60 as they always do in the first round. Miami shutting down Mizzou. Kansas actually having a decently close game against, who was that? Cal Baptist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't really any favorite upset, but I know people had a little bit of rumors about that. UConn got the win over Furman, which obviously UConn was a very kind of negatively talked about team from kind of making brackets. I know that people weren't saying they're gonna lose first round, but they definitely weren't saying that they're Final Four bound.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, because I guess Duke was such a strong looking contender, and obviously that game was probably.
Yeah, but once we saw them in tournament play, that changed the story.
That kind of changed it up a little bit, but we still did not accept what happened crazy later in the tournament of the Elite 8, the last 3 seconds of that game. The second day.
Are we under the round of 32 now?
I think honestly, yeah, we're on round 32 now. Who do we have?
Duke
first?
just blew out TCU.
Yeah, Duke blew out TCU. Michigan Michigan State won against Louisville. Michigan beat SLU by quite a bit. Houston was kind of a forgettable team this run. I was expecting a little bit more out of them. But we'll get to their loss against Illinois. But Illinois was a very...
I mean, that's the most productive offense in college basketball.
Yeah. They got the win over VCU by 20. Nebraska snuck out a win against Vanderbilt, 74-72. Texas getting the upset over Gonzaga, 74-68, which Texas also had a little bit of a run going there.
Yeah, that was probably the least expected.
Especially after all I was saying about BYU, about how this is their year and they're going to definitely win, and I'm not going to bet against them.
Maybe if you want them to go far, bet against them.
Maybe next year, we always say. And then Arkansas getting over the win against High Point. But honestly, seeing just a little bit of upset like that, a 12-5, which it's not even like all that crazy when thinking about it, but just
12-5 isn't even as bad as an 11-3.
Yeah, but just getting the win over like a Wisconsin of all teams, which was, I mean, they seem like a pretty decent team that could have a possibility of going far, especially with their matchups. But obviously their run came to an end when they're playing this Razorbacks team. What else do we have? The Purdue-Miami game I thought was close for a little bit. But obviously Purdue was able to pull ahead in the end. Iowa State University versus Kentucky. I'm pretty sure that game was just all Iowa State.
Yeah.
St. John's versus Kansas. That game came down to a buzzer beater.
I do not remember that one.
Let me see.
I mean, I think the reason Kansas lost is because Darian Peterson, I know he's a great player and all, but he just hasn't played the amount he needed to this season to be completely ready for the tournament.
But coming down to that last win in the last few seconds of the game, Dylan Darling, if you say his name correctly, that was his first 2 points of the entire game, getting a drive layup to win the game. And I mean, I wouldn't say St. John's and Kansas was it was a very kind of divided. I could see you go any other way, but, St. John's.
Yeah, that one's definitely a toss-up.
But, I mean, St. John's, they had it going.
St. John's.
And then Tennessee getting I guess that would be seen as an upset. Tennessee over Virginia, 79-72. And then I'd say the biggest upset of the day, which was Iowa getting the win over the reigning champions, the Florida Gators.
Is it bad to say I wasn't even that surprised?
I mean, not really. I think Florida was easily the weakest one seed.
I wouldn't say the weakest.
Well, I just think Arizona, Michigan, and Duke were just so much that much better.
I would have to disagree. I think Duke was the weakest, but they had the easiest path up until UConn.
That's fair.
Because Iowa's battle-tested. Mm-hmm. Florida had been battle-tested all season, even though they're in the SEC, which is still a great basketball conference. Just the ACC isn't what it used to be.
Yeah. And then after that, which was Arizona getting their win against
Utah State.
Oh, yeah, Utah State, which was not surprising at all. Then UConn getting their win, and Alabama, which was a very controversial team, kind of talking about going to the tournament. Obviously, with them losing, I forgot the name, but obviously to some legal purposes, losing one of your best players could kind of mess up the team morale. But obviously, that kind of did not seem to affect Alabama at all at this tournament.
I think I'm actually just looking at the score for actually what it is right now.
I was just gonna say Texas Tech got blown.
25-point game.
Yeah, and I mean the next game Alabama also got blown out, but
but that's to Michigan.
Now getting down to this was Sweet 16. Now we had a very close game against. We had Duke versus St. John's, which St. John's was up for most of the game, I thought. At least going into the not most of the game, but there was a point in time where St. John's had a quite sizable lead.
Yeah, about for almost, I'd say about a third of the second half.
Which, I mean, I could see how, because just, coaching of Rick Pitino can obviously it can change a lot, especially for how experienced of a coach he is. But obviously, just Duke being, probably the biggest basketball school.
Number one recruiting class for 2 straight years, soon to be 3.
Just always, it was it was an effort. I mean, St. John's, as long as they have good coaching and solid players, they'll probably be another next year in March and just in general the basketball season, they'll probably be quite, a decent team. Then we had UConn versus Michigan State, which, I mean, it was,
Looked like a pretty good game.
It looked like a pretty good game. The Michigan State was just a little bit outmatched, I could say. There wasn't really a moment in the game where they had a sizable chance.
I mean, when you have a player named Solo Ball, that's just like, that's definite baller name. UConn's point guard.
Solo Ball had 12 points and 1 assist. We can see where he gets the name from. And then, obviously, Tennessee kind of continue. I wouldn't say this was much of a Cinderella, just a kind of an unexpected run of play, but they got the win over Iowa State, too. And Iowa State was a very high likely team to come out of the, which region? The Midwest region?
With Lipsy. Yeah. And is it Jefferson, right?
For Iowa State?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lipsy, and it looked like Lipsy had the most points this game. For Iowa State, but I mean Tennessee had a very strong showing in this tournament, and then who do we have? Then Michigan, Alabama, also in the Midwest. Yet again,
not surprised about that.
Not surprising, just Michigan is that.
Michigan just being a 1 seed right now.
Yeah. And then we had a very close showing from Purdue and Texas. Texas only losing by 2 points. I wasn't fully convinced with the Purdue team at this point.
Neither was I.
But obviously, getting this win is very strong momentum for them. But Texas had they had going there.
Texas has a lot of potential in the future. I can see them making future.
And especially how hard it is to go from playing in a 11 seed playoff game to get into the tournament, and then immediately having to get on a plane to probably go somewhere. And then
they played that the first 4 game in Dayton, and then had to go all the way up to I think it was somewhere in Oregon. Yeah, it's where Oregon State plays.
Somewhere quite, ways away.
Obviously, halfway across the country.
From Dayton to Oregon?
Yeah.
I thought Dayton was in California. Or is it Dayton?
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio. Yep. No, that's who's in that's California that I thought was in the tournament last year?
No clue.
They're called the Hoosiers? Basketball team? I swear I'm not crazy.
Indiana?
No, Indiana was not in the tournament last year.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Well, still, any travel will be quite fatiguing.
But you also got to think about the momentum they got from that game. They had the win. They had the hot hands. They just continued that.
They knew they were probably the underdog, so they just they were able to push through. But obviously, coming to an end against Purdue. Another bit of an interesting upset was Iowa also continued their. I wouldn't say we've really had any Cinderella run.
No, this is a Cinderella run. It's a 9 seed. Yeah.
I guess that would say, but obviously getting the win over Nebraska. But Nebraska also, I wouldn't say this is at all surprising, just for the reason that this is Nebraska's first year ever winning a game in March Madness, and they made it all the way to the Sweet 16, which
quite
they
impressive.
Did have a bit of I wouldn't say an easy path getting through Troy and Vanderbilt, but they made Vanderbilt a pretty.
It was definitely one of the easier ones to get to the Elite
I was
Eight.
quite high on Vanderbilt, but obviously I guess Nebraska got through, but Iowa also just I could Cinderella run, making it past the 1 seed and making it all the way to the Sweet 16. But obviously, a very impressive showing from Iowa.
And then we got Illinois-Houston. I was surprised when I saw Illinois won.
I mean,
it's the best offensive team against
the best defense.
Yeah.
Which obviously, I would say that defense obviously matters a lot, but obviously if you have that strong of an offense, it's usually going to be able to get by. And it was a very low-scoring game, surprisingly, 65-55, which in a Sweet 16 matchup, that's just is kind of a little bit shocking, but I mean,
I guess Illinois just decided to actually play defense this game, not just go offense.
I mean, maybe Houston relied on that defense aspect a little bit too much.
I mean, the teams they played, every time they get a steal transition basket, that's really what they did all season.
Yeah, and I mean, if those steals and transition baskets on defense can't really fall, then I mean, you're gonna have a hard time trying to get past this a very high explosive offensive team that Illinois was. So, I mean, I could say it was a bit of a. I had Houston in most of my brackets there, but I mean, I could see definitely an Illinois upset. And then we had Arizona beating Arkansas. It looks a lot, but a very high scoring game, 109-88.
That was just a beatdown.
Yeah, but obviously it looked like Arkansas had a one-man show here. Darius Akuf Jr. I don't know if I'm saying Akuf, but I heard a lot of good things about him from the coach and a lot of interviews in the past game that he probably got a lot of draft stock from this tournament.
I'm pretty sure he's one of the hardwood finalists.
Yeah, but I just think that obviously having a good showing like that against such a top team, it helps a lot with like, I don't think Arkansas is very upset with this tournament. I mean, I don't remember the last time I thought Arkansas had a pretty good chance of going far in the tournament. So
Arkansas has always been a pretty solid basketball team.
But never like, if Arizona got past, if Arkansas got past Arizona, I think
definitely
they had to play Purdue. I mean, that could have been a very, also a very good game.
Yeah. All right, so
going on to the Elite Eight now?
Yes.
I was going to say. Getting into the most recent games, Illinois, just talking about Illinois and Iowa for a second. We were just talking about them.
I'm not surprised about that.
No.
I expected Illinois' offense to show up in that game, and they did.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois' offense has showed up quite a lot this tournament, and they'll hopefully be able to continue that against UConn. And then just talking about Arizona yet again, Arizona just looks like such a
that's a demanding win against the 2 seed.
That's just,
Koa Pete had 20 points. Krivas had 12 rebounds. Bradley had 6 assists, which is pretty crazy.
All right, but the thing they don't talk about is how Bryce James is in that picture. The amount of high fives he had that game, that really keeps the team morale up. Him on the bench handing out, like water and stuff, that gets the team going.
I forgot he went to Arizona.
I did too for the longest time until I saw
But I see him now. I see him.
I saw a video breaking down Bryce James' defense from the bench where he was holding up his arm to try and get the contest. It matters. It shows that he cares.
Hey, bench energy can win games.
And honestly, I know he's obviously he's a very young player, but like Bronny James, obviously talking about the Braun family, I still think he probably should be in college playing. But I don't really know if USC was all that good of a basketball team this year. But obviously, it would be cool to see Bryce James play a little bit in college. But I do not think, after not playing at all on a number 1 seed, he will be at all have any draft stock. And I don't think he will be going to any NBA
He's going to stay.
He'll probably stay for
He needs to develop more.
And then coming on to I'd say probably we got one of the best games, which we'll talk about in a second. But then we had Michigan ending the run of Tennessee with a very
in a blowout fashion.
A very commanding game.
33-point win.
Yeah, it's
what a 1 seed does.
It's what a 1 seed should do against a team like Tennessee, who was not predicted at all to do much in this tournament. So glossing over that, we now get to Duke versus UConn, which I thought was probably the most entertaining game.
Did you see that buzzer beater at the end of the game?
I did.
Halfway through the logo. Yeah, 35-foot 3-point jumper.
Walk off with 0.4 seconds left.
That was crazy.
I do not think at the end of that game, I do not think it was all Caden Boozer's fault. Yes, he probably should have taken the foul.
Take the foul, you win the game. But
I could see
Duke
how
could
he
have
saw
played
an
better.
open pass when he had 2 people on him. I could see that kind of happen, and obviously being a high pressure situation. But you just need to
take the pass and go through or something like that. But
getting forced out like that, but how they were up like more than 15, I thought at a point. Which as a 1 seed, you should be able to hold on to like a lead like that.
Yeah, they were up 17, I think.
I think it was around half. They were about up 17. Let me see if they have anything.
15 at half.
Which is still that's a pretty sizable. That's not obviously like you're in the clear win, but as a 1 seed, obviously UConn very tested team in March. They've won multiple
countless at this point. I don't even know how many. It's been too many recently.
They're obviously a very good team. Dan Hurley, great coach. So you never need to write off a team like that. But obviously coming as a number 1 seed and losing in the fashion where you have a 35-foot heave from the logo to win the game.
It looked like a great shot, not going to lie.
Did I think it was going in? No. But getting that, there was just really nothing Duke could do there.
Just other than take the foul.
Yeah, I don't think Duke was obviously a very good team, but it was just a very unlucky kind of situation where they got, he hit a Damian Lillard shot, which honestly, if I see that shot anymore and they miss like that, I remember whenever Portland beat the Thunder and Dame did his wave from the logo. I remember watching this clip from Paul George on his podcast where he said that was a bad shot. And yes, a 35 foot heave to win a game like that. Obviously, with
with that much time, it's not a bad shot.
It does not make sense. It makes sense to have that type of shot. But he could have maybe taken a step, but obviously he made it. But I think anyone else taking that shot with more time, that's just a bad shot. But he got it off
at the buzzer. Yes. That's a great shot. I swear,
if I see anyone more pull up like Curry at an open gym like that, I'm going to be mad. But now that leads into our Final Four
and championship predictions. We got number 2 seed UConn versus number 3 Illinois.
We'll talk about them first. I know that UConn obviously has been very tested, and they've went, they weren't a favorite to win. But obviously they're still UConn. They've won countless times the past few years.
I think they're gonna win. I think just overall they're a much better team.
And I can understand that, but I think I would want to say Illinois has my ticket to win. I just think that the offense, the matchup could maybe work just so much because of the offense that they're being able to put out. I just think it would be a little bit too much. Because I know Duke is a very strong team, but I wouldn't say – I say Illinois probably still has the stronger offense.
Size-wise, UConn has the advantage.
Yeah, I was going to say they might match up a little bit weird with the size. But I don't think necessarily that will be able to differ an entire game. But I do not think this will be a blowout. I think this will be a very interesting, close game.
It's going to be a close game. All these games are going to be close from here on out.
Yeah. We could see on the other side of the bracket. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think this will be maybe within 10, definitely. I don't know. I mean, we might see another heave from half court and it goes in. We don't know. Obviously, this is March. Anything can happen. That would be, I kind of miss the days where we had a San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic, and then we had what was it, UConn versus Miami.
I don't
Final
remember
Four.
that.
I remember those. It's obviously still nice to see a little bit difference from just all 1 seeds. And it doesn't really matter about the seed as long as things happen in the game, as long as they're interesting and entertaining. But coming to the other side of the bracket here, we have
the 1 seed matchup.
I'd say, in my opinion, these were the two best teams in the entire
Agreed.
Michigan coming in as the 1 seed from the Midwest, 31-3 on the season, and Arizona coming in 32-2. Arizona was the definitive 1 seed at the end of the season, right?
No.
Was
Duke.
Duke was 1? Oh,
yes.
Well, was it Duke, Arizona, then Michigan, I thought?
I think so.
Then was it Florida, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Obviously Florida, we don't really care about them.
Yeah, because Houston lost the first seed to Florida.
Yeah, but I think this game is going to be such
as even as it can get.
Even interesting game to see because they've both won. Let's look at Michigan's scores. Obviously, this is a 1 seed path, so obviously they get they played good basketball the whole season, so they don't have to play the strongest teams. But putting up 100 points against Howard, putting up 95 points against St. Louis, putting 90 points up against Michigan, and then putting up 95 points against Tennessee. The lowest points they've scored the entire tournament was 90. I mean, obviously, yet again, this is a 1 seed going.
And I also think that was the easiest path out of all of them.
I can see that, and they also each team put up a pretty sizable defense. Howard put up 80 against them. St. Louis put up 72.
It
Alabama
feels like
up
they
77.
do lack defense.
But I mean, maybe they just kind of have this kind of score first mentality. But obviously, Arizona on the other side of the coin, they've had commanding wins. They've had somewhat close wins. A 92-point. They scored 92 points against Long Island, which obviously is not surprising. They only beat Utah State by 12, then beating Arkansas by I'd say about 20. I'd say, and then getting another kind of 15-point. It wouldn't say the Purdue and Arizona game was close, but it was still just not like a blowout. But I do not think that this game will be a blowout. I think we could see NBA scores in this possibly.
I wouldn't say
anything
no, not
more-
NBA scores. Arizona plays too solid of defense. It's on the Michigan side of defense where that
I
could
was gonna say that
go
could
wrong.
maybe.
They're both high scoring teams though. Michigan averages 87.7, Arizona 86.5.
That's just
And
it's such an even kind of
Their
playing
defense
field.
points against Michigan 69.6, Arizona 68.8. It's such an
This
even
would be
matchup.
It would be such an interesting game to see. I personally think the championship will be Illinois versus Michigan, where I have been saying since the start of the tournament, I believe Michigan will win the national championship.
And I'm going to have to go exact opposite as him. I think it's going to be UConn, Arizona, and Arizona walks away with the national championship.
I do not hate that at all. But personally, I think whoever wins Arizona, Michigan
Will walk away with the national
championship. But I have always been such against Arizona because every single year they just can't get it done. And obviously I don't think they've ever made it this far, at least in recent years. But I just like Michigan. I mean, but this will be a Final Four that we will all be very curious to see what comes out of this, because we could see. I think this will be very entertaining basketball.
All four of these teams definitely could win.
Yeah, I could
national.
see a case for either of these teams, like the Magic from UConn, the very high explosive Illinois team, and then just the two juggernauts that is Arizona and Michigan.
Yeah.
But I just think it kind of comes down to, I really think it could go anywhere, but I think, like I said, Michigan will be walking away. But that is all of March, obviously. Hopefully we'll see another very interesting March again next year.
Hopefully.
I would still like to see a little bit more diversity of the seeds coming into the I'd say Elite Eight, but
yeah, I mean that's just so hard though.
that is quite a hard ask. But obviously, just seeing at least buzzer beaters, explosive like teams is just always such a good time. It's one of the best times of the year.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to UFL. Battlehawks start off strong with a 16-10 win against the reigning champions, the DC Defenders. It was a super defensive game.
I was gonna say that they win 16-10.
Yeah. The amount of I don't even know how many sacks there were, but there were so many. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've always been interested. Like I've never like kept up insanely with the Battlehawks, but I've always been so interested because I know the Battlehawks have like one of the best fan bases just because we don't have
they have the best.
Yeah, they have the best. Like
I've
highest, just like highest attendance rating.
Yeah.
Obviously, just because St. Louis, we have a hockey team and we have a baseball team, and obviously when the Billikens are good, then we'll see a little bit more of that. But we just do not have much. So obviously, a UFL game can be quite a big attraction for people in St. Louis. And I know they've also had they've had a decent, they've never really been like terrible. I know they've been decent from the UFL's beginning a few years ago.
Yeah, so let's see. The game against the Defenders, there were 31,000 fans, which leads the UFL in fan attendance.
That does sound cool. And I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a video about how St. Louis they tape off like the top sections of the arena, so they could get more, but I just think it's just for
the UFL was thinking about relocating them because the stadium is too big, but
that's such a non-problem.
It's pulling in the most revenue in the UFL right now.
Yeah.
So
and obviously the UFL is such an interesting concept, and obviously it's gotten so popular to the fact that they're starting to implement some things,
and they're expanding.
So
they have 2 new teams this year.
Yeah, it's became a lot more of a serious kind of thing the more talk about, and obviously it's just such an interesting take on the game that everyone knows and loves. I was gonna say, is it the who are the new teams? I thought it was
actually there might be 3.
I would say a lot of these teams look new.
Well, you got the I can't remember which ones are new, but there are a couple new teams.
Which
It's gonna be fun this year.
A very growing, and hopefully we're able to, for publications, hopefully we'll be able to go to see a Battlehawks game and able to cover that. But obviously, hopefully the dream here in St. Louis was to be if we can pull in this much for a UFL game, and obviously that's not even like full capacity. I think that's probably just football fans, but obviously I don't think it'll ever happen. But if we could somehow end up with another like major sports team in St. Louis,
that'd be awesome.
That would be the best thing because I never. Like growing up, I never got to like experience like a Rams thing, like Rams game or anything. I've always wished we had a basketball team, but that probably won't happen. But
it used to.
We were close to getting a few teams in like the early 2000s. The Grizzlies, we were really close to getting the Grizzlies, but that never, that didn't end up happening. But I think that would just be such a cool thing for St. Louis to get.
We had the Falcon
Hawks.
We had
the Hawks in like back in the 50s.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a very, very different time. We won a championship too. But obviously, getting a sports team here in St. Louis would mean a lot to a lot of everyone involved. But hopefully, we'll be able to see a lot more good from the Battlehawks, and we'll be able to see St. Louis grow as a bigger football city and just kind of show off what we've been missing out on.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next time.